here.
Hey, how you doing, Miss Spears? Greg Richard here.
Hey.
All right. Is there anyone else on the line with you in your office?
I'm not in my office, but yeah,
Oh, yes,
Alan Boyd is supposed. Yeah, Alan Boyd is supposed to join.
Okay, so we'll give him a minute to dial in. We're going to be modulating live on KSAP here in downtown Port Arthur. So how's the weather out in DFW?
It's fine. It's really nice today.
It's going to be a hot one down here in southeast Texas, hot and sticky.
So what did you mean by your statement you're going to be?
Excuse me?
What did you say earlier about?
Oh, we're broadcasting live here in Port Arthur. Teleconference?
Oh, okay. From where?
Radio station KSAP in Port Arthur, Texas.
And who is it going to be transmitted to?
That's worldwide. Internet radio.
Yeah, I have to get permission for something like that. I thought it was just with you.
Oh, I thought when I sent you the agenda item, I thought I put it in there. Because we're going to be basically talking about, I mean, it's nothing, confidential or anything like that. It's going to be basically concerning the agenda items that I did send you. You did get the agenda items, correct?
No, when did you send the agenda item?
Actually, I sent you Rev 1 and Rev 2. I sent you Rev 1 on Friday. I think I sent you Rev 2 yesterday. You check your email.
Yeah, I did. I didn't see anything from you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's CC'd. Yeah, I CC'd that one too.
We have an office that's called Office of Public Affairs.
Right.
And they're the ones that do all our press and all our media.
Right.
I am not allowed to speak to the media.
Oh, okay.
So we will have to cancel this and reschedule. I'm looking at my spam just to make sure my junk email.
Okay, I also forwarded a copy to Alan Boyd, also my congressional the representative. Yeah, everyone seemed to have gotten it, I guess. I don't know, said if you want to go ahead and reschedule, like I said, everything's basically going to be going over the history and role, Department of Labor, Office of Contract Compliance. It's nothing that's really classified or confidential. So, I mean, so you haven't had a chance to take a look at the agenda items yet. Is that correct?
The last email that I have from you came on June 22nd. And it's not agenda items. It's labeled example of successful affirmative action program.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I tell you what we can do. We can take the call without the radio. I'm also doing Facebook Live too. I'd go ahead and turn that off too if you like, because this is something really important. We need to talk to, or if you want to reschedule. I mean, do you think it's gonna be a problem? You getting permission to talk about this on social media and the radio?
Yeah, we need to reschedule. Can you send it to me while I have you on the phone so I can make sure that I get it?
Actually, I'm using my phone right now to record on Facebook Live, so I'll have to shut all that down. But like I said, I just sent you, I just sent you the Rev 1 on yesterday. Like I said, everyone else has been getting them. I'm surprised you hadn't been, but
yeah, Alan, did you get anything on yesterday?
Yeah, I received something. I received agenda and some other stuff he was sending out to Motiva. So they talked about the introduction, the history and the purpose of the goal. I am prepared to do that now. Old business is just listening to Mr. Richard. New business is listening to Mr. Richard. And then closing remarks. But I am prepared to give an overview of OFCC mission as we speak.
That sounds great. Our audience would love to hear. A lot of people are really ignorant to the fact of what the Department of Labor, Office of Federal Contract Compliance actually does, so that would be a good thing.
All right. So, because we only have 30 minutes, so we can make the best of the time.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and get started, and the boss will jump in as she sees fit to jump in. But I'll go ahead and get us started on the introduction, and then we can go ahead and move forward.
I appreciate that.
For those who are on the call, My name is Alan Boyd. I am the Outreach and Education Coordinator for the Southwest and Rocky Mountain region, better known as the Swarm. I'd like to thank those who are on the line for participating in this call, and we look forward to a fruitful discussion. As we talk about OFCCP, OFCCP is an agency within the U.S. Department of Labor. It is a civil rights agency that evaluates the employment practices of companies doing business with the federal government to ensure that they do not engage in unlawful discrimination and that they comply with affirmative action requirements to ensure that all qualified applicants and employees have equal employment opportunities in the workplace. The affirmative action includes, for example, outreach and recruitment, which happen to be my title. Now, as we move on, OFCCP evaluates the employment practices of federal contractors through compliance evaluation. And I'd just like to note there that the compliance evaluations are scheduled through a neutral selection process generated from our national office. And we also do complaints investigations. The three regulations we enforce are Executive Order 11246, and this applies to employers with federal contracts and subcontracts and federally assisted construction contracts and subcontracts of more than $10,000. It prohibits these employers from discriminating in their hiring and other employment decisions based on race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, and national origin. Additionally, it protects applicants and employees from discriminatory discipline, including termination for asking about, discussing, or disclosing workers. And the last statute is Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act, and it applies to federal contracts and subcontracts of more than $15,000 and prohibits discrimination against job applicants and employees based on their disability. And finally, we have the Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment Assistance Act. We call it VEPRA, because it's a mouthful to say. Applies to the federal contract and subcontract of $150,000 or more and prohibits discrimination in all personnel practices for protected veterans. Executive Order 11246, Section 503, which deals with disability, and VEPRA, which is veterans, also have affirmative action components that require covered contractors to engage in certain activities, including outreach and recruitment, data collection, self-audit, and assessment. So that's an overview about our agency mission and where we get our teeth from to do enforcement with those three requirements that I just shared with you, laws, the statute, however you want to word it. So that's OFCCP wrapped up into one that tells you about our mission.
I can appreciate that, Alan. How long have you guys been in business?
The agency has been established over 50 years.
Okay, I think what President Johnson signed that into law with 1965. I believe that's correct, 1965, right?
Yes, that's correct for the executive order.
Okay, now, one of the ways I believe, please correct me if I'm mistaken, that you guys, one of the tools you use to monitor and measure that federal contractors are actually abiding by the laws is, number one, the EEO-1 reports, and number two, the affirmative action plans. Is that not correct? You may have more tools. Those are the two that I'm most familiar with.
Well, the main part of it is the first part, the affirmative action program.
Yeah, program, sorry.
And it's right, and they are required to complete an EEO-1 report on an annual basis. But again, that they have to go through EEOC, that's an EEOC requirement to have them to keep that update, that EEO-1 report.
Right.
And
You guys,
also according to our regulations, that once a federal contractor becomes a federal contractor, they then become a contractor, they have 120 days to establish their affirmative action program based on the thresholds that I shared with you earlier when I provided you with the introduction. And then thereafter, they are required to update annually. And when they update it annually, that is for them to do their own assessment internally. So if they need to create some goals, recruitment goals for minorities, women, then they have that recruitment tool to focus in on the job groups that they need to do more outreach on to try to have qualified applicants to apply for them. The only way OFCCP comes into play is, as I shared with you early on, is during the scheduling process, which is generated by a national office, and it's a neutral process that takes place. And I believe I need to resend it to you, but also emailed you a copy of the methodology
Yes.
to show what variables that they use to come up to identify federal contractors that's coming up on the list.
right. Yeah, like I said, we went through all that earlier. Here, particularly in Port Arthur, like I said, you've got several major petrochemical facilities here. I think Aramco Motiva is like the largest petrochemical plant in North America. They've changed names several times from Texaco to Star to now Aramco Motiva. My question is, affirmative action has been on the books for, like you said, over 50 years. And, you know, me and everyone else in town, whenever they show city council meetings or school board meetings, all you see are white people, you know, in their management and professional staff. I'm like, no black folks. What I'm saying is they've had 50 years to come up with an affirmative action program to identify the purpose that you guys set forth to actually show that they are actually an affirmative action employer. You know, that's the mission statement they put in the literature, but I don't personally, I don't see it when I see them in the city. So that's why I requested copies going back to 1971, 72 to see whether or not what their original affirmative action program was. See, I'm a product of the affirmative action program from 1970 from the University of Tennessee, where I went to school on a scholarship provided by Martin Marietta Aerospace in Orlando, Florida, and University of Tennessee was in partnership with them. It was roughly like 40 other Fortune 500 companies in that program. And it was a legitimate program. I mean, sometime in the 80s, the University of Tennessee was graduating, the leading graduate of black engineers in the country at that time. So I'm just kind of curious to see what these guys here in Brother have been doing the past 50 years. Like I said before, Brother's had one of the highest unemployment rates in the state of Texas, running for like 25 to 30 years, as you know. And these companies here, the petrochemical plants, have been making major profits. So Motiva made $111 billion in 2019. They were the #1 most profitable corporation in the world. But you can't tell that by the citizens that live there. I mean, median income here in Port Arthur is about $19,000. So, I mean, I tried several times to get employed there back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000. I'd never seen qualified to get a job there, where else I could work for the NASA contracts like McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, Allen Laboratories. So I'm trying to figure out what type of qualifications these guys require for someone. I mean, their front gate is roughly 1.5 miles from my front door. So like I said, you know, I had to go all over the country finding employment during the course of my professional years. Now, I'm not the only one. I've got lots of people I know up to school with that had to leave the city of Port Arthur to find work in Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, because these companies here, these petrochemical plants weren't hiring Negroes. So I'm trying to figure, okay, well, what type of programs did they have in the past that would help us, you know, understand what they've been doing to be awarded these federal contracts they've been awarded all these years. So that's what initially started my inquest with you guys. So I believe looking at the past will give you a key to what's going to happen in the future. So that's why we're trying to get this information. Now realize you guys are not the gatekeepers of the actual documents. You depend on the EEOC to supply you guys with that information. So, but like I said before, at the end of the day, you guys are giving these petrochemical plants your blessing to get these hundreds of millions of dollars all these years. So that's why, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing right now to figure out, you know, what have they done? I mean, I would like to be able to read their affirmative action programs to see, because like I said, I don't see, I mean, their professional and management categories look just as lily white in 2021 as it did in 1966. In my opinion, what I've seen. I mean, you know, I've got lots of relatives living in court. They agree with everything I'm telling you right now. So that's why we want to get those documents to be able to look and see what programs they installed. Evidently, those programs didn't work. What I've seen. So, you know, that's the nature of what we're doing. Like going back to the program, you know, old business. Basically, I participated in that. A congressional hearing back in '94, Congressman Major Owens, he was the one that set this up. And I had the same problems in '94 with a contractor out in California, to where, you know, they were, you know, they appeared to not be complying with the executive order. And, you know, when I asked for the documents, they did provide me the documents. Department of Labor and EOC did give me the EO1 documents. We found out that these guys had been filing their EO1 reports like 10 years. They were getting hundreds of millions of dollars in government contract money. So I want to make sure that's not happening now here in Port Arthur. So, like I said, you can, I don't know if you guys had a chance to get your copy of that congressional hearing. That's serial number 108, 103-85. It's a publication you can get from a congressional office. Let me give you exact. I'll list the exact number. You can order your copy. It's for sale by the U.S. Government Printing Office, Superintendent of Documents, Congressional Office, Washington, D.C. The ISBN number is 0-16-045954-0. And it'll give you a brief overview of what we talked about on March 24th, 1994 in Washington, D.C. Like I said, I'm seeing the same pattern here that we saw back in '94 in terms of a lot of these federal contractors getting all this money, but not complying with the rules that you guys are the gatekeepers for. So that's what we're trying to get at with this exercise we've been doing now. So you know, I don't know if you guys can comment and hear information I just talked about, but that's where we are.
Did you receive the EEO1 reports from EEOC?
For which company?
For, I guess, the many names that it went by in Port Arthur.
So you say you do have those, correct?
No, I was asking if you got them from EEOC.
Back in '94, what happened was, it was the EEOC. It was a joint committee, I guess, comprising of the EEOC, Department of Labor, and some other organization that sent me. So I had a federal lawsuit going, so they had to give that to me. It took tooth and nails to do that, but I finally got it. But it was from this joint committee, joint reporting committee, I believe is what they called it back then. I don't know what it's called now. So, but yeah, and when we looked at the data, like I told you before, we found out that that contractor hadn't submitted his EO1 reports in 10 years. Not only that, his affirmative action program was full of lies, saying they tried to recruit people here, there, this, and another, and they never really did it. Well, I ended up getting hired during the Urban League job fair, but, you know, like I said before, looking forward to now, I would like to see what in the past has been done by these petrochemical plants here, affirmative action wise, because we really don't see any progress in the 1960s in the manager and professional job categories. So these guys make hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Dallas and Houston are the only two cities that generate more income than the city of Port Arthur on a daily basis here. I mean, any given day, they're making between $20 and $60 million per day based on cost of a barrel of oil. I mean, you've got 5 major oil refineries and chemical refineries here: Aramco Motiva, Chevron Phillips, Total, and I'm not sure what BSF does, but they're in the mix also. So I mean, it's a lot of money being made here, but you can't really tell by the community that lives, which is predominantly Negro and Hispanic now. So like I said, you go outside on the freeway looking morning, it's like going to the Super Bowl. All these cars coming into town, and no one here can seem to be qualified. So I mean, these guys have had 50 years to get people qualified here. I'm trying to figure out what did they do. I mean, why did they go wrong? How did they go wrong? That's what I'm asking you guys, so you guys can tell me. I mean, I don't have the data to go back and look and see what the affirmative action programs were for a Texaco, for a Gulf, for a Chevron Phillips, for a Total. So the ball's going to be in your court to for us to figure this out.
Yeah, what I was asking is, have you gotten the current EEO1 reports from EEOC?
No, I requested that from you guys. I didn't request it from them. I requested it from you. My FOIAs have been specifically to you guys because you guys are the gatekeepers for the contract awards, correct?
Yeah, but we're not the gatekeepers for the EEO1 reports.
I understand that, but like I said before, I'm asking you all because you all are the ones that give the federal government the green light to let these guys get that money. So it's not the EOC. The EOC is like an individual deal. You guys are more collective, I think. So they don't need the EOC's approval to get the federal contract money, correct?
All right, and that's out of our control, awarding of a contract, or if CCP doesn't enter into play until